I didn't tell him any of that though. I just went into trying to control the situation and get a need met by doing all these little, piecing together of things to try to get that outcome. Before we begin, I'd like us to take a moment to name the intention behind this space. This is Codependency Alchemy, a space for people who are tired of overthinking their relationships or shrinking themselves to feel chosen. I'm Alyssa, and I do this work because I've lived it. I have not arrived at some destination of healed, nor will I ever claim to be. I am here for the journey, and I'm here to share that journey with you. At the heart of this work is my soul's mission to heal the mother wound, to be seen and witnessed in the things that we tend to hide from or reject. Over the last 4 seasons, this podcast has grown to one of the top 100 relationship shows, and we're just getting started. Before we begin, I have a favor to ask. Pause for just a second to make sure you're subscribed. If you're ready for honesty, more self-trust, and more peace in your relationships, then you're in the right place. Okay, babes, we've been caught. I have a confession to make. I noticed that I was doing this trust breaking pattern in my relationship this weekend. And so, of course, I had to bring it here so that we could all talk about it, all share the tea, and see if maybe you're doing this thing in your relationship as well. Because I stopped this pattern in its tracks, and what came after was really, really beautiful. And so I want to use this as evidence to show what's possible on the other side of this pattern and how we can stop it in real time and the benefits that we get to have when we do this. Okay, so basically what had happened was I had plans to go to the mall to return a couple things that I had ordered online. The mall from where I live is actually quite far. It's like a 30-minute drive, and we don't usually go that far. I didn't want to run this errand alone. I wanted Justin to come with me. And so I had kind of, planted the seed. Hey, would you maybe want to go to the mall with me to do this return? I'll be super quick. I'm not even going to shop. I'm literally just running in, returning, and then I'm done. So I tried to make it as attractive as I possibly could. And to even sweeten the deal, I did this other thing where I added a bribe. I was like, if you go, we could stop at this place that we've been talking about going. That's kind of in that area. Basically just weaving in some sort of thing that I think would help him say yes. It would entice him to go with me, right? And then lastly, the thing that basically triggered the fact that I was doing this pattern was I was withholding truth. I wasn't telling him the full extent of the errands that I wanted to run. I was telling him part of it, but I wasn't telling him that I also wanted to go to World Market so I could buy some more cups for my coffee because I just got a new coffee thing, all the things. So I wasn't being fully transparent. I was withholding truth. And that is going to be the trust breaking pattern that we're diving into today. Withholding truth in your relationship. So there's really 3 ways that I was breaking trust in this whole situation. The first one was that I wasn't being fully transparent about what I was hoping to get done on our errands trip. I was withholding truth and not telling him that I also wanted to stop at World Market. The second thing that I was doing that was breaking trust was that I wasn't being fully honest about what I actually wanted, which was wanting him to go with me because I didn't want to go alone, which was further avoiding vulnerability. And then the third thing that I did was I bribed him, which, in case you didn't know, is covert manipulation. So I was trying to covertly manipulate the situation and control it so that I could get the outcome that I wanted. Underneath all of those things that I was doing in real time was a need, right? Underneath that was this need to not have to do this errand thing alone, was to have him come with me because I didn't want to be alone in that moment. And there's reasons why I didn't want to be alone. I have been navigating a huge loss in my life, and every time I've been driving by myself in the car, I have these like pretty big emotional breakdowns. And I had just had one the day before driving, and I just didn't want to do it alone. I didn't tell him any of that though. I just went into trying to control the situation and get a need met by doing all these little, piecing together of things to try to get that outcome. And so what I want to talk about now, I have notes so that I don't get so that I don't get too off topic. But what I want to talk about now is like what this does to a relationship over time. Because when I realized through the withholding truth, like when I realized that I was withholding truth, I should say, I started contemplating and asking myself, what is withholding truth trying to provide me with? And what is this moment really encouraging me to step into? So here's what I came up with. For the person withholding the truth, so for me, I lose deeper self-trust with myself every time I don't say what I actually want. So like when I don't say what I want, I reinforce the belief that my desires are not safe to be expressed or that they won't be met. And over time, I stop even being clear on what I want. Like it did not occur to me until I did further excavating that I just didn't want to do this thing alone because I was afraid that I was going to have an emotional breakdown in the car. When I was doing all of this like piecing together to try to get him to go with me, I was not consciously aware. That was like a subconscious thing that was going on. And so when we're in this pattern of withholding truth, I think what happens is we start masking the truth of what we actually want and what we actually need because we're not communicating it. We're not being vulnerable. Which leads me to the second piece is I end up building this like resentment underneath that because my needs aren't being clearly communicated to him, right? Which means that they're not being fully met. I'm just saying, go run this errand with me and then let's go get lunch. But what's underneath that is that I need support and like some connection and just like him being with me while I'm navigating something hard right now. But I'm doing it through a bribe. And so then that bribe just makes it feel like he's not actually doing it because he wants to be there. But he also doesn't know that I just want him to be there, right? So there ends up being this story that I tell myself like they don't show up for me. But the reality is that I never gave him the full truth to respond to, right? I gave him the facade, right? I didn't give him the real vulnerable truth beneath what I wanted him to do. So instead of risking vulnerability and just saying, hey, will you come with me? All I do is stay in these the ways that I try to control the situation to get the need met. Because that's what I've learned how to do things to be safe is control my environment to try to get a need met rather than just to ask for the need, because asking for the need could potentially lead to a rejection. But what that does to our relationship over time is it takes away intimacy, right? It takes away connection. It takes away authentic expression of self and allowing my partner to meet me in that. And so what helps me is to consider and to see what this even does to the other person, right? Like, how does this impact Justin's half of the situation? And I mean, I'm making assumptions here. I didn't ask him about these things, but I wanted to share it with you guys here because I think it can be helpful to just consider the lens on like what that ends up doing on the receiving end. So for the person on the other side of it, like they don't get the chance to fully show up for you. They're responding to what you're asking, the partial truth of what you're asking, not your true desire, which basically means even if they did say yes, they're only meeting the part of you that you edited, that like I said, the facade. It's just, hey, go run this errand with me. It's not what's actually underneath that thing, which was for me, I didn't want to do this thing alone because I'm feeling like I need support. And so the second piece, which I did get from Justin, and I'll tell you exactly how the conversation between him and I went, but they feel the incongruence. Like they can feel when we're withholding something, and they might not be able to name it, but they can sense it. They can sense that we're not being fully transparent. And I want you to think about when perhaps this is being done to you, where they only share a partial truth, and you can kind of feel like there might be more to this than they're letting on. Like energetically we can feel when there isn't a fully transparent ask. And that's why I think there's more resistance a lot of times. Like, we have to try to convince them to do the thing that we're asking. And the reason why I think there's resistance in these types of dynamics is because they don't feel like they have full autonomy. And it makes sense because they kind of don't. In those moments, we're constructing a situation or a scenario to try to get them to say yes. And that can feel like a loss of choice, a loss of their power, right? Thinking of other ways to say autonomy, basically. And that, I think, is a huge breaker of trust over time, because these micro moments add up. It ends up feeling like your partner isn't being fully honest with you over and over again. And even though in the moment I wasn't being fully honest, not necessarily to be malicious, right? Like, it was a more tender, scared version of myself that didn't feel safe to be vulnerable and share my truth. Like, it wasn't me trying to control him from malice, but that's what ends up breaking that trust down, because like I couldn't just share the vulnerable part of me. And so here's what I did to stop this pattern in its tracks. First, I noticed it. And you might be wondering, like, how did you notice it? And I will tell you, whenever you are bringing awareness to a certain pattern, you'll start seeing it everywhere. You'll start seeing all these little micro moments where you do these patterns that are not helping or serving your relationship. It's the reason why in Codependency Alchemy, our membership, we have a monthly theme, because we're just bringing our awareness to this one pattern. But additionally, we're reading that book that I did another podcast episode on not too long ago, Your Big Leap Year by Gay Hendricks. And so it just so happened that this last weekend, what we were looking at is withholding truths. And so because it was a topic of conversation, because I had just brought my awareness to this pattern, I started seeing how it was showing up in my relationship. This is why the membership is just invaluable, you guys. If you're wanting to start like catching these patterns in its tracks, put yourself in spaces with people who are doing this work. Because if you don't have awareness around the thing that you're doing, then you're not going to know that you're doing the thing that you're doing, right? Like, it makes sense. So if you want to join our membership, please, we would love to have you. It's an amazing community of almost 400 people now. And we do this inner work every single day in our chat. So just scroll to the show notes and you can subscribe. You can become a free subscriber, and there's still tons of benefits with all the free content I send out. But you can also become a paid subscriber and get tons more real-time support from me and others in our community. But that's how I noticed it. That's the real tea. Is we were talking about it in our membership chat, and so it was top of mind. And then I saw that I was literally doing it as I was posting that in our chat. And the second thing that I did is I acknowledged it, and I asked myself, what does this moment need of me? What is this moment asking of me? And the words that came to mind were vulnerability and honesty. And so I asked myself, how can I be vulnerable and honest in this moment with Justin? How can I do something different? Because it's not like this is the first time I've done this pattern. Like, I realize that I withhold truth. I used to do it all the time in the first half of our relationship. I think it quite literally is one of the biggest things that broke us up. But I would be lying if I said I didn't do it now. Like, clearly I do it now. I just did it this last weekend, but I'm in a different place now, and I want to continue to evolve. And so can I take this opportunity of this moment where I am doing an old pattern and do something different? So the third thing I did was I told Justin the truth. I basically sat with him and said, hey, I noticed I was doing something that I want to do differently. Can I talk to you about it? Consent, right? He said yes. I said, I wasn't telling you the full truth about all of the errands that I actually needed to run today, or wanted to run today. I actually wanted to go to World Market because it's close, and I didn't want to go alone because every time I drive in the car right now, I have an emotional breakdown, and I don't want to go by myself. And he said, thank you for telling me. I knew that there was more that you weren't telling me, and I appreciate you talking to me about it. I'll go with you, babe. And it was just so beautiful because I felt so uncomfortable. I just felt like my shoulders were like this, and I was like hiding behind my sweater, but he was just so kind and just acknowledged me, and he gave me a big hug. And he agreed to go with me. We had a beautiful afternoon. We did go get lunch because we were both wanting to check out this place anyways. But what I noticed in the car was something different happened. When I bribe him and like coerce the situation and control the situation without being fully honest and transparent, I'm usually in the car ride obsessing and looping on if he is mad at me or if he's upset. And I kind of spiral in that, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have had him come. He clearly didn't want to go. Like, I kind of panic a little bit because he didn't have autonomy to go. And now I'm guilting myself for not giving him the autonomy for going. And I didn't realize I did that before, but that's what I was noticing in the car because that didn't happen this time. This time I just felt held. I felt held. I felt safe. I felt supported. I felt grateful. I even told him, I was like, I'm just so grateful for you, like, as a partner. Like, I just, like, thank you for being me and being with me in this, like, really messy, tender time. And, like, all the ways that you have been showing up has been really supportive. I mean, I didn't say that word for word, but it was just kind of like, I had that gratitude and I got to express that to him. And that doesn't usually happen because I'm usually spiraling and worried that he's upset. And I'm usually asking him, like, are you okay? Like, sorry, I made you go with me on all these errands. Like, I'm kind of like doing this, like, backtracking of apologizing for coercing him to go, where that didn't exist because I repaired. I gave him autonomy to go. He got to choose from his own volition, knowing everything, knowing all the pieces, and then make that choice. And like, that's why I felt met. And so it's like, how often are we not actually getting our needs met because we aren't being fully transparent with like what the need actually is, because we're so stuck on the surface area, or surface level thing, like the errands. Like, I think it's the errands. I think it's the running the errands with me. But what's underneath that is that I just want to not be alone and like have that support close to me. Just in case, because I am feeling really like sensitive right now. And so when he was able to see me in that and him say, yes, I will go with you and I'll be that person. Like, that's when I feel met, not when I just completely take out like the whole heart of the need. You know, if you haven't listened to the podcast episodes, Needs, Wants, and Desires, you know, it really goes into this concept that we're stuck on these needs being this like thing that people do for us to help us. But what's underneath the need, like doing the dishes or taking the trash out or running errands with us, is something deeper. It's a feeling. It's supported. It's connected. It's intimacy. It's love. Like, there's usually a feeling. The need is usually the feeling. The want is how we get that need met a lot of times. So I wanted Justin to go with me to run errands because my need is to have someone close supporting me, right? Yeah, go listen to that episode because I dive into it way more deeply. But yeah, I just wanted to say that, going back to my notes so I make sure I don't miss anything. Yeah, the day felt full of intimacy and connection rather than like controlling and distant. I didn't feel guilty. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, I didn't feel guilty like I did something wrong. And I don't think that any of that would have happened if I wasn't honest. And he got to meet me in that. He got to meet me in that honesty. So that's what I have for you guys. To kind of wrap it up, there's this pattern that I think a lot of people in codependent dynamics fall into, which is withholding truth in our relationships. And so can we ask ourselves, am I withholding truth in my relationship? And can I consider the ways that that actually breaks trust in my relationship and doesn't continue to provide me with what I actually desire, which is honesty, trust, transparency? I can guarantee for a fact, if you're listening to this podcast episode or listening to this podcast at all, things that you value in relationship is honesty, transparency, trust, love, right? Connection. But withholding truth is none of those things. Withholding truth isn't being vulnerable. It isn't being transparent. It isn't fostering intimacy and connection. So can we get honest with ourselves, not blame and not send ourselves down this, self-imposed blame spiral, but can we see how this is a maladaptive thing that we do based off of things that happened to us in our childhood? And can we see how we're not in those environments anymore? And can we make a choice that is more aligned to how we desire to feel in our relationship? And so, because what we're doing this season in the episode is healing the mother wound and being witnessed and showing up and seeing ourselves, my question for us to reflect on in this episode, you can scroll down to the comments. If you're watching on Spotify, there's a place to leave comments. I suggest you go there. Or if you're watching this or listening to this on Substack, you can go to the comments of this post. So once you're in the comments section, remember, you don't have to post it. This is for you to witness you. That's the whole point. Even just getting it out of our bodies, typing it out, or even grab your journal, just some point in time, make sure you're witnessing yourself. And if you want to be witnessed by our community, by me, go ahead and post it. I'm happy to witness you in it. I'm honored to witness you in it. But I want you to ask yourself, where have I recently withheld truth in my relationship with my partner? And then what vulnerability is underneath that? What were you maybe not feeling safe enough to be fully transparent and vulnerable about? And that might be the need, right? The need underneath the ask, or the need underneath what you're hoping they would do or trying to coerce them to do, right? So 2 parts. The first one, when or where have you recently withheld a truth from your partner? And what was that? And then what vulnerability was underneath that? I'm celebrating you and taking just a few moments to allow yourself to witness that. Maybe you even just consider this week as you go about your week where you might be withholding these truths. And again, what's underneath that? Because withholding truth is really just a part of us that doesn't feel safe to express ourselves authentically. And so if we want to stop that pattern in its tracks, we have to do something different, right? And that's why I had to ask myself, what is this moment calling for me right now? How is this moment calling me forward right now? And it's to be honest and to be vulnerable. And so can I practice that? And I hope that you feel safe enough to practice it here with us, leaving it in the comments, hitting post, or deleting it, because wherever you're at is perfect. And I'm celebrating you for showing up. Thank you guys so much for witnessing me in this episode. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of your journey. Again, if you want to join our Codependency Alchemy membership on Substack, I always leave the link to join in the description box or show notes. So you can always click there. Again, you can join as a free or paid subscriber, whatever you're feeling would be most supportive for you right now. But it would be an honor to have you join us. And I hope this episode was helpful. If you haven't already, you can go ahead and leave a rating review on the podcast. I do all this stuff on my own, so your guys' support in rating or reviewing the podcast goes such a long way. So thank you guys so much for supporting me and for letting me be a part of your journey. Okay, that's what I have for you guys. I love you so much. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.